What's going on, you loyal listeners? Thank you for tuning in to the L Squared Podcast. I'm your host here, Luke Larson, and joining me today, the special guest who will be assisting me in leisurely launching you into levity, Old Legs himself, virtually, not in the same room, hundreds of miles away, Old Legs!
What up?
How you doing, man?
Going? I'm doing good. I'm doing great. I saw some movies over the weekend. We took a week off for the Thanksgiving holiday. I was gracious enough. I took time. I gave thanks. Gave thanks for some of my favorite actors and actresses out there.
That's important.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just gotta sit back and you just gotta say thank you, Nick. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Nick.
I imagine that's how it sounds at the Thanksgiving dinner table with a bunch of Nick Cages.
100%. Man, what I wouldn't give to be at that table, man. How was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. It was good. It was a blast. I saw Creed 2. I'm excited for once you see that, we'll give that some run here. So I'm assuming that'll probably be sometime next week. It's a good movie. It's a good addition to the series. I'm not going to give anything away from the viewers here or my gracious host.
Yeah.
So yeah, go out and check it out and support those guys.
Yeah, you guys should see it, and then we're giving you... It's not because I haven't seen it. We're giving you guys time to see it, so that you know we're doing it for you. Right. It's not because I haven't seen it. We just want you guys to see it.
And it's like, hey, guys, we love that you're really into it.
Yeah,
yeah. And you're just so goddamn on top of these releases. But can you give us some time?
Yeah, please. Just a little bit of time.
So that's what we're doing. That's
you're
exactly
welcome.
Why we're putting it off. So yeah. How about you, man? What was your Thanksgiving like?
It was good. I went over to the grandparents over in Leota, Minnesota. Shout out. And
did I do that?
Yeah, my grandpa. Last couple of years has smoked the turkey, put it in a smoker, and it's really, really good. I just hung out, got to hang with the fam, eat a lot of food, watch football, and came back, did a little Black Friday shopping, and then fortunately I had to work Friday, but no, it was good. Definitely gave thanks. It was nice to have a couple days where you can just kind of get away from the daily, grind and kind of eat food, watch football. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, sure, man.
And that's it. That's all the time we got.
What do we got on the docket for today, then?
So this is we had an idea. This is something we haven't done in a long time. So you loyal listeners who've been listening to us since the beginning, you may remember we have done something similar in the past. Little segment we like to call Pitch and Catch, where we kind of have a couple movie pitches or ideas that we think would be cool movies, and we just kind of talk about them, free form, whatever, and just try and mold them into some semblance of an idea, just for fun. Now I know I have one that I think is could go today. I think you could write up some dialogue, sell the script, get it greenlit today. The other two are a little bit more of passion projects, little weird, smaller movies. Maybe
you're
like
gonna have to, two for them, one for you type deal.
Right, exactly. Yep.
You have to pay your dues a little bit.
So I gotta bust through the door with this first one that I know it'll be a good one. I know it'll make money, and then once that happens, then I can kind of go the A24 route. And
He's got to make Independence Day before he can make Arrival.
Right, exactly. Well said. So, are you ready to hear it?
Yeah, let's go.
So I'm just going to pitch to you. Tell me if it's a catch or not. So it will be a biopic based on a true story about Pete Weber. Do you know?
Okay.
Do you know who Pete Weber is?
Yes.
The bad boy.
Continue.
The bad boy of bowling. That's going to be our title.
He's that guy that you watch if you don't have NFL Sunday Ticket.
Yes. Yep. And you may have seen the video that went viral of him freaking out when he won his 5th championship title.
Right.
And I had seen that video too, and I thought, that's fucking hilarious, where he's just like, God damn it, I did it! Who do you think you are? I am! You know, that whole freak out. It's fucking wonderful.
Oh, yeah.
Legendary. And you see it and you're like, wow, that dude's fucking nuts. And then, like, you look into it a little bit and you hear this guy's story, and it's just has such a perfect arc for a sports biopic. And we don't have a lot of bowling movies either, you know? So basically, So if you don't know...
So go ahead and, because I'm aware of Pete Weber. I've seen Pete, I know the guy. He's like, you know, he's the type to wear, like, sunglasses inside, it seems like.
Yep.
I would peg him as, like, one of those dudes.
Oh, yeah.
But you're going to have to enlighten me because I know nothing of the Pete Weber story,
So Pete Weber, he is the son of the legendary bowler Dick Weber, and Dick Weber was one of the premier all-stars of bowling. He was the big time. He was the name guy when bowling was one of the biggest sports in America, and Dick Weber was this clean cut, you know, slick back hair, shiny teeth, just the model that you would want, you know, just like he was the face of bowling. Everybody loved him. He was a 4-time champ, professional bowler, you know, really great for the sport. And he has a son, Pete Weber, who gets into bowling, and he's not as clean cut, he's not as straight edged as his dad. He's a little bit more wild.
He's a maverick.
He's a maverick. So he starts out like with a bit of a chip on his shoulder because he's Dick Weber's kid, but he wins all these amateur, you know, and then once he becomes a professional, he starts breaking records for the youngest guy to do this, the youngest guy to do that. But you kind of start to notice through his matches that he gets a little fiery, you know, and he gets a little crazy. And so he shot up fast and got into the ranks, but then his emotions kind of got the best of him, and he just started just fucking drinking like crazy, going nuts, and like he got kicked out of the Professional Bowling Association. I think it's a PBA, right?
Right.
Multiple times because of his antics, and on TV he just went ham.
So you would say that he's more of a Hansel than a Zoolander?
Well, yes, sure.
Like he could take it or leave it with the bowling.
Yep. And he's
an attitude that just says it's just bowling.
Sure. I mean, if that's the only option you give me, then I guess I'll take it. But he's getting kicked out, and this is kind of like the second act, sort of, where this is the down point of the story, where he's at his bottom. He can't bowl. Sure. That's all he's ever known is bowling, and then PBA is also at its lowest point. It's got terrible ratings. No one's watching it. There are no investors. Well, then they get a new owner, and he wants to get those ratings. He wants people to keep coming. So he contacts Pete, and he says, look, I want you to be the new face of PBA. He's like, you can do whatever you want. The crazier, the better. He's like, I want to throw some gas on this fire. So he comes back and he lets Pete just go nuts, and all of a sudden Pete becomes a way better bowler than he ever was because he plays better off those emotions. So he's getting strikes and he's doing his crotch chop and he's screaming and yelling, and the cameras love it, you know, and then bowling comes back in a big way, right? And all of a sudden he's a celebrity again. And
sure.
and then
So is this a? So I'm gonna keep picking your brain here.
Okay.
Is bowling, was it more akin to, as far as not viewership, but the viewing experience? Would you relate it more to golf pre-Pete Weber, like pre-Pete Weber we're talking? Is it more golf than like Sunday Night Football, as far as, are people cheering? Is it like quiet? Like what? How do you watch bowling?
Pre-Pete Weber.
Yeah, pre-Pete Weber.
Yeah, there's it's sort of a golf clap. Yeah, it was a little bit more of a classy sport. Like it was sort of like. Okay. It was sort of like boxing, in the way that boxing used to be huge back in the day.
Sure.
And bowling was kind of like that too, but it was definitely sort of the leisure sport. Similar to golf would probably be a good analogy, but it was, you bowled and people went, oh yeah. It was sort of like tennis, actually, you know?
Okay.
You know, it's more like tennis where, you know, you get a good strike and say, ooh, yeah, that was nice, you know, and they clap. But then fucking Pete Weber is the John McEnroe of bowling, and then, you know, people start cheering and he's getting the crowd going, and it's, you know, and it goes nuts. So he really revitalized it. But the ending of the story is that monumental freak out that we've all seen, because his dad, and then his dad dies as well, and then that's kind of, his bowling isn't quite as good after his dad passes as well. But then that freak out that he had, that match was for him to win his fifth title, his fifth championship, which would be the most in history. His dad held the record at 4, and he ended up tying it. And then in that match, he was bowling to win his 5th, which no one had ever done, and you'd break his dad's record, finally come out of his dad's shadow, you know, and not just be this crazy whatever guy, you know. And he's bowling against a young guy, and he starts going, and he's not having a great game. Like, he's very silent, he's not that energetic, he's not his normal self, he's very, you know, just calm, and he's not bowling that well. And then throughout the match, he starts to kind of yell at someone in the crowd, and people who were there were like, we don't really know who he was yelling at. Like, it's sort of like he just apparated a person out of nowhere that he could get mad at, and then his game started to pick up. Like, you see him look at the crowd and just say, hey, it's called sportsmanship, pal. And you look, and it's like no one was saying anything. Like, he literally, like, just did that, and he starts getting pissed. And then when he gets pissed, he starts throwing strikes, and he starts coming back. And then I think he needed a strike to win it. It was the last one, and he's coming back. He's getting pissed. He's getting his energy's going up, and then he bowls a strike, and that's when he has that freak out when he's like, God damn it, I did it! Who do you think you are? I am! And that was him winning his 5th title to beat his dad, you know, to come out of that shadow for his, and it's such a great moment. I'm like, that just has it checks all the boxes for a great sports biopic. It has all those great arcs, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, man. That would be a phenomenal film.
I think, I do, like, I want to comment on that, because I assume a lot of people have probably seen the viral freak out.
Yep.
But I do love when athletes in solo sports, so whether it's like golf, bowling, tennis, yell stuff, because it's almost always words that just don't make sense, because you don't have any teammates to like yell at.
You can't just be like.
And in the case of like Pete Weber, he's like, who do you think I am? Like, I am. Like, he's like, it doesn't make sense. Like, it would make sense if he was yelling at like his teammate, you know, or something.
Yeah.
Like, because I think about the same one. I think it's Andy Roddick, and again, tennis player Andy Roddick, and it was after he won tournament. I think it was like the French or something like that. But he's he's screaming and he's fist pumping. And he's like, "Come on, come on!" And it was like, and it's if he's on the football field, it's you don't think anything of because he's like hyping up his team. You know, like, "Come on, guys!" But it's just like himself.
Like that's what I'm talking about, guys.
Like, and he's screaming at himself, and I think it's so funny. Like golf is the same thing.
Yep.
And a lot of them they talk in the third person. It's like, "Oh, Tiger!" Like it's I love.
Yeah.
I think all solo, singular sports, you should be mic'd up at all times.
Yeah.
It's just hilarious, the stuff that comes out of these guys' mouths.
Yeah. So, some themes that I kind of picture naturally coming up. So, he has a wife. I'm not sure, like, when they met or anything. I haven't gone into all that, but we can figure that out. But I'm thinking, like, she's there. I feel like she's kind of an enabler. I saw a little mini documentary about him, and I think it was a mini 30 for 30, actually. It wasn't like a full one, but she seemed like very much like, yeah, he that's him, you know, that type. Kind of big hair, long fake nails, you know, that type. But
are you gonna cast this, or do you want me to do it right now?
Give me just a little bit of time.
Okay.
So,
because that description sounds a lot like I'll leave you to it, but
okay.
I have a name in mind.
Yep. I'm gonna let you do it after I. So that's a character. So obviously there's Pete, there's her, and there's his dad, Dick Weber, who I have an idea for him as well. But some themes that are gonna come throughout is obviously like him being a kid, seeing his dad being this big bowling star. Everybody loves his dad. Everybody respects his dad. And then he just wants to be like his dad. He just wants to be a great bowler. And then there's some themes of, like, his dad being proud of him, but also, like, kind of wanting him to clean it up a little bit and not be this crazy, you know. So there's some back and forth there, which I think it, you know, kind of, whatever. You can see it there pretty clearly, I think. So you kind of have him as a kid looking up to his dad, and then when he's at his low point, you know, people are just like, he's nothing like his dad. You know, his dad was so much better, and then his dad is kind of like a little bit, you know, disappointed in him, you know. But then, which makes that arc so much better when it's his dad's record, and he can finally, like, come out of the shadow of, you know, of his father and stuff like that. And then I kind of like the idea of...
Can I interject here one more time?
Sure.
So you said low point, and so there's like a classic kind of low point. It's usually in like a montage, or
yep.
It always ends up in the same thing, you know, passing out at the bar, or you know,
he's
sleeping,
like, yep.
you know, on a park bench or something like that.
Yep.
I don't see any of those things for Pete Weber. Here's my low point Pete Weber scene, and this could be really great. Pete Weber, he's sitting on his couch. He's got a six-pack in front of him. He's maybe put on a little bit of weight. Doesn't look good. Hasn't showered. What's he doing? He's got his TV on. He's playing a video game. That video game is called Wii Sports Bowling.
No.
What? How is that not? How is that not the lowest you could go?
Your timeline's way off. His low point was like the early 90s.
Wow.
So,
I mean, come on.
So, no. I mean, I appreciate the symbolism, but...
Alright, keep going.
So, no more talking. No, I'm just kidding. So, you could maybe have like one of those plastic play sets of like the plastic ball and pins, and then you just throw in gutter balls because he's drunk.
He has some buddies over, and like he's taking it way too seriously. And
yeah.
They're like, hey man, I thought we were gonna watch the game. We'll watch the game later.
Yeah. No. See? Yeah. There we go. Fixed it. Boom. Yeah, and then I kind of like the idea of him having these sort of hallucinations throughout his life. Like, because when that comes to fruition at the climax, well, at the ending, really, but the climax, when he sees that guy who starts being an asshole to him that we were pretty sure doesn't exist, I'd kind of like that to be a theme throughout. Like, maybe he sees somebody as a kid, and then I don't know if it was, like, based on a real person. I just kind of like the idea of him just kind of imagining these people in the crowd, like, thinking that, whatever. Like, maybe he's bowling when he's a young guy, and he just isn't having that good of a time, and then he just kind of sees somebody smirking at him or saying, "Ha, you fucking suck," or whatever, you know what I mean?
He embraces the dark side.
And then he embraces the dark side, exactly.
And for once, kind of works out.
Paid off for him. Yep, he doubled down on that.
Every once in a while, man, the Emperor, he gets it right.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
He gets it right.
Yep. So, I think this is gold.
Okay.
So if we want to talk casting, I have my Pete Weber cast right now. So
okay.
I can tell you who that is.
Give it to me.
Ben Mendelsohn.
Alright.
No doubt in my mind, it's fucking Ben Mendelsohn.
That's your number one?
That's my number one. He's a great actor. He can play a slimy, Weasley guy really well, but he can also play a guy that you want to root for and that you like at the exact same time. And that's who this Pete Weber guy is. And he looks kind of like him. So it's just a dream casting. Ben Mendelsohn is the perfect and only Pete Weber for me.
I like it. Yeah, it almost... Does it feel like you need a character actor to play a bowler?
I think so, yeah.
You can't go full movie star.
Unless you're Bill Murray. Because he played the best bowler maybe of all time.
Sure.
I mean...
Well, I mean, the dude.
The dude, yeah. He doesn't do a lot of bowling, but yes. The dude is a better bowler.
But it is a bowling movie.
It is a bowling movie.
Dude is good. It's tough, yeah. But I see what you're saying there, but I just... Right, for the Pete Weber bowler, who's like a real bowler, I mean, it's hard because, like you said, Bill Murray's almost always playing Bill Murray, but...
Yep.
I like that, yeah.
Cool.
That's pretty good.
Yep.
I think you're spot on.
Yes.
With the he can play the down and out, but you really want to root for him.
Mm-hmm.
What was the what was it? Is it Mississippi Grind?
Yep. With Ryan
the
Ryan Reynolds.
Not Gosling. Reynolds, yeah. Where he's that
the gambler.
That's kind of what I picture here. Like you see him during the low points at the lowly bowling alley, smoking outside.
Yep,
kind of
exactly. That's a great image. I think of with the other Ryan Gosling in Place Beyond the Pines, where he's that greasy mechanic who helps him do those heists. I think of him. And then I also think of his character in Killing Them Softly, where he's also kind of a slimy guy, but you like him, So I think that's just a dream. That's a dream casting right there, boys.
I like it. Who are the characters in the... So you mentioned his wife, his dad. Are there any other characters you haven't mentioned that...
Is
there a big bad? Is there a rival?
I feel like... they're...
Who's the Walter guy? Walter... I know, like, two bowlers.
Walter Kopchak? That's from... I don't know, man.
He has, like, three names. Walter Ray Williams, Jr.
Okay, wow. He could probably make an appearance. But, yeah, I mean, I think I like the idea of the big bad being himself and also, like, the shadow of his father. So, like, part of the bad being, like, when he gets out of control and he fucks himself over, obviously. But then also, like, his dad is a complex figure because he loves his dad and looks up to him, but then the shadow of his dad kind of becomes his enemy as well, his nemesis. So even though his dad loves him and supports him, there's always that there that he's kind of fighting against, the Steve Young get the monkey off my back thing,
Right on.
So you said something popped into your head when you thought of his wife?
Oh, you said enabler, and I immediately thought Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Boom. Fucking A, man. Great. That's perfect.
Who you wanted?
Yeah, I will take that. I mean, yeah, damn.
Yeah, I don't know anyone else who would be just. I feel like she obviously we don't know each other, so I don't want to put words in her mouth, but someone who just seems like they would be just absolutely excited to play a bowler's wife.
Yeah.
Hanging out at the lanes, cigarette in hand.
Yep.
Maybe talking to somebody's aunt.
Yes. So
do I need to say more?
I think we're thinking of his third wife, which would be Tracy, I believe. I mean, we could cast all three as different people.
Yeah, you're the expert. The enabler one.
We're gonna say that's the last one, and that's gonna be Jennifer Jason Leigh. I thought of possibly Renee Russo.
Okay.
But maybe she could be one of the other wives. And then for old Dick Weber, I think even though he technically retired, I think if we could get like I think Robert Redford would be perfect. Because he's like, he immediately brings to the table prestige. People do look up to him. He is a representation of, what we think of as a wholesome, American man in the 70s, whatever. But, he kind of has he represents a lot of that for a lot of people, and I think that's kind of the same for Dick Weber. So if you're playing like an older Dick Weber, I think he'd be good. As far as like for a younger guy, I don't know, get somebody who looks like him, but that was kind of my...
Is Eastwood too dark?
Yeah.
Like old Eastwood right now, is he
might...
Is that darker than like the theme of the film wants to be?
I think so. I don't know if he's quite...
Are we thinking of his dad as a good influence? Is he a positive influence in Pete's life, or no?
He is, but...
Because if it's yes, then it's Redford. If it's no, then it's Eastwood.
That's a very good clarification. I think yes, because I don't think it's the man that he dislikes. I think it's the shadow of that man.
Sure.
So you want him to be a friendly, likable guy. And maybe at times he feels like he's not genuine. He just feels like he's just a smiling guy, happy-go-lucky guy. But I want it to be a complex relationship. But I feel like it should be a positive relationship. But because of it, so that you can see why everybody loves him, but also that feeds into it almost makes him unrelatable to Pete, because he's like a god, basically, So, I think Redford would be good with that. And then, so are we good on Redford for that?
If you're in, then I'm in, man.
I'm in, man. We got him down. And we'll just have a lot. There's going to be a lot of Photoshop pictures of a young Redford. We're going to place a bowling ball in his hand. We'll be good. No problem. That's easy. Black and whites, no problem. So then, for director, I haven't given a lot of thought because I feel like this is kind of one that can be... I feel like the story's there and the characters are there, and it's kind of like... It would take like a Brett Ratner or a Michael Bay to like mess this up. But I think that someone who would take a very interesting take on it would be David O. Russell. Because his movies have a lot of complex characters, and he's kind of hard to work with and loud and crazy, so he probably can relate to Pete Weber. And he makes fucking damn good movies, you know. And his themes are realistic and dark, and I would probably I would think David O. Russell would do a really good job with that.
I like it.
Cool. That was easy. So, as far as the title goes, I think, you know, I like the title, Who Do You Think You Are? I Am, but that might be kind of hard to market. So, I think The Bad Boy of Bowling is probably the best way to... I think that would probably be the best title.
Well, it feels... I don't like ofs in my titles. Unless it's a Planet of.
Okay.
It feels like it's got to be a little shorter.
Okay.
Like, is there a Pete? Has there been a movie that's just Pete?
I don't know. Between the Lanes? That's not good. Strikeout? Strike? Spare?
3 strikes. 3 strikes and you're out?
10-2 split?
Nobody fucks with
Yeah.
Is John Turturro making a cameo in this movie?
Oh my god, yes.
As just like a guy that just challenges him on like a Saturday night.
Sure.
And he's sad about like he's on his second beer tower.
Yep. So, can I just read you a little...
How many beer towers are in this movie?
Oh, so many. That's going to be most of the budget. I think it's going to be spent on that.
It's going to be beer towers.
Yeah.
Perfect. Perfect, I'm in.
Okay. I just want to read you a part from Pete Weber's Wikipedia. So,
okay.
By the early 1980s, Weber had established himself as one of the best bowlers in the world, but his lifestyle saw numerous long binges of alcohol and cocaine use. In 1985 Sports Illustrated article, Weber admitted to spending a 4-week stretch on tour in, quote, complete blackout, end quote, staying up for days on end with cocaine and drinking a fifth of Jack Daniels every night. Pete estimated he blew through about $150,000 between 1982 and 1984 on cocaine, alcohol, and gambling. He entered rehab in March 1984, ending what his famous father called, quote, 8 years of hell, end quote. Though Weber says he never used cocaine again, he would fall off the wagon multiple times with drinking. So,
that's great.
So I mean, there's your down point.
There's we definitely get the scene where he's about to roll.
Yeah.
And he takes a little bump off the crease of his hand between his thumb and his index finger. Like, is that not there?
That's
the movie,
there.
Right?
Oh yeah. And he's shirtless and sweaty. And oh yeah. Oh man. And just think of all the dumb little bowling gigs that you could throw him into. I mean, there's definitely a montage there after his big success where he's like, he's a young kid getting into it and he becomes, he's super talented, and then he slowly gets into the cocaine and drinking, and he's still really good, but then he starts to waver a little bit. He's in rehab. That's your down point. Yeah. No, that's fucking
I like it.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
So
everyone likes a comeback too.
Exactly. Yep.
So it's just a natural narrative arc. It just writes itself.
That's what I'm saying. There's no way this doesn't make money.
I like it. What's next? What do you got? I'm gonna give this a thumbs up.
Sweet.
And I would only ask for $10 million less than your asking price if we were in a meeting.
No matter what. Okay.
Which is not bad when you think about, people getting lowballed.
Yeah. No.
In the Hollywood scene.
That's fair. I'm honored.
Right.
And I do just want to say we are actually actively seeking investors, so if you want to help make this happen, give us a call.
Yeah. David Fincher, if you're out there,
yeah.
if you're listening.
I mean, David Fincher's okay, no. Whatever. No, but fucking David Fincher, he could just make any kind of movie.
That's another movie.
Yeah, it's a whole different movie.
I don't know.
That's a whole different movie.
I don't know, because it's weird, because it's also the same David Fincher that did, The Social Network, that did Seven.
That's true.
Drastically different looking movies. I don't know what his bowling movie looks like. But
right. Steven Spielberg, that's a...
Is there a xenomorph?
Yeah, no doubt. You could easily have a xenomorph bowling ball. I'm sure there's one out there.
Yeah. Good stuff.
And the real Pete Weber obviously makes a cameo at some point.
Yes. 100%. What do you got next?
So that was my main one. That's the one that I know I can make. I know that can make money. So that's going to lead into a couple of my other lower budget ones for me, the A24 project. So I've had this kind of weird idea for a while that I think...
Deep cuts.
Deep cuts, exactly. This is one that, I don't really know if there's an audience for it, but I think it's interesting. But so I had this idea. So, opening scene. Picture you're sitting on an outdoor seating area of a bar, right? It's night. There's live music playing. It's an intimate kind of setting. There's not a lot of people, but there's a table there with a couple friends. They're sitting around, normal small talk, Tarantino style, just kind of shooting the shit, drinking, whatever. There's a little bit of music. It's a nice night. Time period, modern day. 2018.
So everyone's looking at their cell phones.
Everyone's on their cell phones. They make some comment about Twitter, a hashtag here and there, Snapchat.
People are showing themselves memes on their cell phones.
Yep, exactly.
And laughing.
Yep. And then there's, one guy who's talking about how whatever, how it's stupid that just fucking whatever, complaining about how cell phones are stupid for society, one of those guys. And so they're just talking, and then you have the live music playing, it's nice, and you're just sitting there. And then you kind of hear a low rumble in the distance, and you kind of look, and then coming down the street is this truck that downshifts, and it's just wow right by him. A lifted truck with a big pipe, exhaust, just fucking being a dick, just super loud, and goes by. And then obviously it stops everybody from talking, and then it slowly, the sound drifts off, and then it cuts back, and then people look at each other and what the fuck? Why the fuck do people do that? And it cut to inside the truck, and it's a bunch of teenagers, and they're like, oh, fuck yeah, that was awesome, we fucking got him. And it's basically the mentality of the driver that's what he lives for, driving by a group of people, revving his engine because it's so loud. And, it's kind of the arc of a madman. So he has this group of people that, like, they're fine, they're friends, they hang out or whatever, and he's like, alright guys, alright, they got a new opening, we could put it in 2017, so like the Nintendo Switch has its opening, they're opening, lines starting at this time, there's going to be a whole bunch of people there, we're going to come in, we're just going to ride right past them, they're all going to look at us, we're fucking awesome, right? So they do that, and then his friends are, at first they're like, okay, yeah, this is kind of fun. But then they realize that their leader, like, he takes this shit way too seriously. And his big thing, his goal in life is to hit a Black Friday shopping spree, right? To be able to hit all these stores with all these big lines of people. Just because he gets off on people, like, looking at him. And there's even a point where he has one of his friends in the line recording just so he can see the footage later to see everybody be like, what the fuck, And he thinks he's really cool, and no one else really gets the point of it, and he just becomes obsessed with doing this, and his friends are like, dude, you're taking this way too seriously, like, you gotta cut back on this. And
so he's obsessed with, like, the noise he's making?
Yeah, he's obsessed with being super loud with his truck. But he needs people to hear it. He needs a group of people that are doing something else to be taken out of that to hear his truck.
Right.
And he's like
Crank. If his heart rate drops below a certain point, a bomb's gonna explode in his chest. Like, got it.
Right. He just needs to do this. And then the arc, the second act is that his friends are kind of like, this was kind of fun when we were just goofing off and we just thought it was kind of fun, but you're just taking this way too far, and it's like, what the fuck is the point? This is just stupid, right? So then he kind of starts doing it on his own, and he isn't getting the same thrill out of it as he was before, and then he has a down point where he realizes, maybe it's dumb, and then he there's a point in the movie where he's in public somewhere, and then he sees someone else with a group of friends ride past him, and he's like, looks in disdain, and he's like, oh, fuck those guys, like, they don't know. But then he's all depressed, and then his friends, like, but then maybe he sees, like, it happen again, and then this, like, little kid, everybody else is like, what the fuck, when they ride by, and this little kid is like, whoa, that was cool, and then he, like, starts to build up the hope again. And then he gets and then his friends come back to him. They're like, we got to get you back out there. You're all depressed. And then Black Friday comes, and they hit every store, and they go by the groups of people, get right next to him, ride it, and that's basically the movie.
That's interesting, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I really don't know if there's an audience for it. But I was like, it's interesting to me because that's fucking weird. And, like, to tell, like, a super serious, like, character story about some fucking dumbass bro who just likes to do that and probably doesn't put any thought into it to make it, like, this huge existential journey for him, I thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, so his low point is he trades his truck with he trades his like 99 Chevy Silverado with semi stacks and and you name it, giant mud flaps and the black balls hanging off the back.
Yeah.
He trades that in for 30 cents on the dollar, and he's driving around his Prius.
Yeah.
He goes hard the other way.
Yeah, he's like wearing a sweater vest and shit. Yeah. His
pants are starting to hike up a bit higher. Yeah. He's starting to look like Joaquin Phoenix and her.
Yeah, exactly.
And he stops at an intersection, and and some guy wants to race, and he's just like, just don't look at him. If I don't make eye contact, he'll drive away, kind of thing.
Yeah.
What? So, but he's reawakened.
Yes.
Okay.
He reawakens the fire and the urge.
Yeah. Who plays this guy?
So, I'm kind of open on that. I was kind of initially thinking like a Dannie McBride. But just because, like, obviously he plays a great, like, douche asshole guy that you also like a lot. But I'm open to. It's very flexible, but he might be too old at this point to play like a teenager. So I mean, I could give like. I think like Dave Franco could have a starring role.
I think if you set it not in modern times, but it doesn't even have to be like the 90s. It could be like mid 2000s.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And then all of a sudden, like a guy like McBride doesn't seem as old.
Okay. Sure.
You ever notice that? Is that a weird thing?
No, you just made a whole lot of sense right there.
But the farther you go back, it's like the less age kind of matters.
Yeah, that's
especially
true.
if certain actors just fit a specific time period.
Yeah, it's just like it's time travel, man.
Which I think, McBride, he slots in easily with just the curly hair, the kind of
almost mullet. Yeah.
Yeah. You can kind of take it a couple different ways, but there's just there's a look about him.
Yeah.
So I'm with you. I like the Dave Franco thing too. He's a touch on the pretty side.
He is. Yeah, he's not quite as rough as you'd want.
Who else is in this? Is this another Jennifer Jason Leigh? Is she riding shotgun?
I mean, sure. Why not? She could, depending on. So if we do
She's chewing bubble gum.
Yeah, I mean, if we do
She's chewing it loudly with
her
mouth open.
Another part that I didn't mention is that obviously this guy lives with his parents. And his parents are not, like, super thrilled with what he does. They're not even sure what he does all day. But we'll just say, Jennifer Jason Leigh could be his mom. She could be just a super white trash, trailer park, loud, naggy mom,
I got it. I got you.
And I kind of want, because obviously, so the whole tone of this movie is, stupid, right? Silly. It's a movie that knows it's being weird and dumb, right? Perfect. That's just what I want. I kind of want Michael Shannon in it to be a cop, to be the cop that, he's, on traffic duty or whatever, and he's the one who, knows about this guy and fucking can't stand him, and just wants to, take him down, and has probably, gotten him before on little minor stuff. But he's kind of the baddie where he wants to take this guy down. He's just mean mugging him and just waiting, and he's got traps set up. And maybe he tantalizes him or whatever, nags him on when he's at his low point and he's not whatever. I just want Michael Shannon in this fucking thing, okay? I don't care what we have to do.
I see Michael Shannon as he does play the heel throughout the movie, but he's kind of that unlikely savior towards the end. He pulls him over in the Prius, and he has him roll down the window. He's like, I can't stand to see you driving around in this kale-powered piece of shit.
Oh man, that is good. That is
do what you were born to do.
That is good. And then, like, you're not really sure, like, Danny just kind of drives off, like, okay, you know. But then, like, he's, like, waiting on Black Friday, and then he hears Danny's truck in the distance, and he's like, that son of a bitch. Throws the sirens on, peels out. Fuck yeah. That's a scene. You nailed it.
Could you also, this might be, like, too far, like, tonally wise, but maybe doing a split between what's actually reality, what he looks like from a bystander's point of view, and what he sees himself as. So his like the split between the bystander, which is like, oh, some asshole riding by with his car really fast,
right? And
then the split of what he feels like he looks like, which is like this split of half animated, half like Wachowski brothers / sisters Speed Racer looking thing. You know, have you seen the Speed Racer movie? I actually kind of like it. Just as like a stylized thought experiment.
I have actually seen it.
Yeah, it's like that. That's what he thinks he looks like.
So you kind of have like three different,
like Speed Racer, like the car actually,
right?
But he's in this.
He's in a whole nother world.
Transported to this another world.
Yeah.
Right?
Sort of like the world in Mandy, like heavy metal.
Yeah. Tonally, it's different.
Yeah.
From Speed Racer, but that.
Yeah. No, I get it.
That style, that direction, is what I picture, like in his head.
So you could kind of like
feels like he looks like.
Yeah. Okay. And then it kind of changes as he views himself differently.
Right.
Like maybe at first he's just doing it to get kicks and he wants it to mean more to him, not to mean more. But he wants this goofing off to mean more to him, but for some reason it doesn't. So the more he tries to do it, the less it means to him, and then that hurts him, and that leads to his downfall. But then he realizes something clicks where he realizes, no, this is important. And this is what I'm meant to do. And then, so then when he comes back for the finale, you know, for the climax, then it means that much more. And maybe, like, it's more of a fully realized theme. Whereas in the beginning, it's a little bit all over the place. Like, he sees himself, you know, as a super cool thing, but it's definitely not who he really is. But then at the end, when both worlds collide, when it is who he is, it is what he was meant to do, it does mean something, and he sees it as important, all those things kind of come together. Yeah, I like that.
I was just thinking about this and his redemption, and so maybe he doesn't sell his truck / car, but so I just picture the scene from this is too over the top, but when he realizes, he's like, no, I can't do the Prius thing, I have to go back to my roots, and he gets his pickaxe out, and he starts pickaxing his garage.
Oh, yeah.
He just goes full John Wick because he cemented over his car.
That is hilarious.
Would that be funny?
Yes. That is gold.
I picture that. Like he has to completely cement out, like not just like a couple guns, but you know, just an entire car.
Yeah.
And he went through the trouble to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Man. That would be good. Fuck, man.
What's this movie called?
So I'm a little bit. It needs to have a really good title, but I'm having trouble trying to think of one.
It needs to be something way over the top.
Exactly.
Like it could also double as like a professional wrestler's name.
Yeah. Right.
Like Thunder King.
Yeah. The Exhaust Boss, or something like that.
False.
False. That's not good. Oh man. Yeah, it's tough.
Like pedal heavy.
Pedal heavy. That's not bad.
Lead toe.
Yeah. Lead foot. Yeah. I kind of like pedal heavy.
Working title.
Yeah,
Pedal
working
heavy.
title. I like pedal heavy. I can work with that.
Right.
Working
title.
So, yeah. And then as far as a director, I think if we're doing Danny McBride, we gotta do who's his buddy, David Gordon Green.
Yep.
Yeah, I just think that's the clear-cut choice.
Yeah, they've done good work in the past.
Yeah.
They clearly like each other.
Yeah. So that's one more for me. It's just out there and just a really weird idea, but that one's the one where I make it big off the Pete Weber biopic, and then they throw me a little scratch that I can lose some money on this weird movie that becomes a cult classic, obviously.
Obviously.
I mean, it goes without saying. But. So, I don't know, are we greenlighting that one too?
Like you said, this one's one for me, two for me, one for you. So,
yeah,
you're definitely to borrow the Casey Affleck. You're going deep into the whammy business. But I like it. I like it nonetheless. Like it's got some potential. The other thing you have to do is you have to work out like a couple lines. There has to be like 3 or 4 just one-liners where he rolls down his window and he either says something just so off the wall or he just says something so obvious, like room room motherfucker.
Yeah.
Something to that effect.
Yeah, it's got to be quotable.
Is what I would go with. Yep. And then it turns into a classic because then people can.
Yep.
You have that niche group of people.
Yeah.
Or the people, the 80 people that show up to your Comic-Con and they're all saying like the same thing to you like 7 times over. So you got to have that. But yeah, if you get those things, it's on.
So
and it's original idea.
Yeah, exactly. It's OP.
I'm not just like, oh, well, that, yeah, nice Mad Max ripoff.
Right. Yeah. And if David Gordon Green doesn't do it, my second choice for a director maybe would be Jorma Taccone. I think that's how you say it.
Remind me again.
He's one of the Lonely Island boys. He directed MacGruber. He was also I don't know if he directed Hot Rod or just was in it and produced it, but I fucking love MacGruber. I think it's hilarious. And those guys have such quick, weird, absurd humor that I love, and I think that if we got them on this project, they would kill it. So, there we go.
I like it.
So, my last idea I'm going to save for another time because I need to put some more thought into it. That one's a little bit more of a It's a little bit more of a in the echelon of like Lady Bird, Moonlight, more of a personal story. It needs some time to fester, you know.
Okay.
I'm working on it, but that's gonna
I
be
respect that.
that's gonna be my tour de force, or what? I don't know if that's the right term for that, but I'm gonna use it.
Count it.
So, and then I'm just looking. Sorry, Kat. I'm just looking at my show notes here. So I don't have anything, but you said you wanted to talk about a movie or something that you saw.
Yes. There's we mentioned at the top, Creed 2 was a movie that we were gonna watch, and we're getting around to it. There's maybe a couple other movies that we might get around to. One of them being The Night Comes For Us. It's an Indonesian action film that we will probably touch on. That's also on Netflix. The most recent Coen Brothers movie I had a chance to see, The Ballad of
Buster Scruggs.
Buster Scruggs. That's also on Netflix if you want to go ahead, and that's something you could watch that we may also talk about. But the movie that I do want to talk about right now that are none of those movies is a movie called Mamma Mia. Here we go again, a.k.a. Mamma Mia 2. Mamma Mia, are you with me?
Jordan, I told you we don't have time for this. We're not going to talk about this.
Hey, I just listened to two shitty movie ideas. Now I'm going to talk about Mamma Mia 2. Mamma Mia 2, here we go again.
No.
Is the sequel to Mamma Mia. Maybe in one of the most genius story ideas I've ever seen. They took a seemingly perfect narrative structure and they improved on it in the sequel, something that you don't often see in film. The sequel to Mamma Mia, also starring Amanda Seyfried, follows a young Meryl Streep, played by Lily James, in the style, in the narrative structure of that of The Godfather Part 2. And it's not often that you can say that, yeah, I think I saw a movie and it goes where The Godfather 2 went, and it maybe does it better, because it's got one thing going for it. What is that, you might ask? It's ABBA. It's ABBA, or ABBA, if you're, I don't know who says ABBA, but I say ABBA. It's got everyone coming back. It's got Ghost Meryl Streep. It's got Cher. It's got Colin Firth.
Hey,
it's got Pierce Brosnan.
Jordan, stop.
It's
That's
got
it.
Lily
No.
James.
Hey,
Lily James is great.
No,
What?
It's done. Okay,
What?
I've already played the outro. We're done.
Oh.
I told you we don't have time for your bullshit. Okay, it's my fucking show. I play the music.
What do you mean?
I say when it's over.
What do you mean?
That's it.
What do you mean it's done? Are we moving on?
No.
Are we moving on to the next segment?
That's it. Bye.